everyone, I'm Shinja Microfornes and welcome to our presentation on Immanuel Kant's Categorial Imperative, one of the most influential ethical theories in Western philosophy. Today, we will explore how Kant's ideas challenge us to think not just about what we do, but why we do it. So, let's proceed to the introduction and background. So, Immanuel Kant was an 18th century German philosopher who believed that morality must be grounded in reason, not in emotions or consequences. For Kant, actions are morally right not because of what they achieve, but because they are done from duty, in accordance with the universal moral law. Kant's ethical theory is deontological, which means it's based on duty. His most famous moral principle is the categorical imperative. It is a universal rule that applies to everyone, regardless of desires, outcomes, or situations. It is also called as categorical because it applies absolutely, unlike hypothetical imperatives that depends on personal goals. So, how do we know if an action is moral? That's where Kant's three main formulations of the categorical imperative come in. Each one gives us a different lens to evaluate our moral decision.
Good day everyone, I'm Justin Renji Goraib. And today, I will discuss the universal law. The first and most well-known version of the categorical imperative is the formula of universal law, which states, act only according to the maxim, whereby you can at the same time will it become a universal law. Let's break that down. A maxim is your personal rule for acting. To test if your action is moral, ask if everyone in the world acted this way. Could this rule be applied universally without contradiction? For example, if I lie to borrow money with no intention of paying it back, and everyone did the same, trust in promises would be disappear. The very idea of promise would lose meaning. That's contradiction in conception. Meaning, the action destroys the condition that makes it possible in the first place. This formulation teaches us to test the logical consistency of our actions. If universalizing the action leads to contradiction, then it's morally wrong. Kant believed morality requires rules that apply equally to all rational beings.
Good day everyone, my name is Princess Jan Vivarion. So today I will discuss the formulation to humanity as an end. The second formulation of the categorical imperative is the formula of humanity, which say, act in such a way that you treat humanity, whether your own person or in a person of another, always the same time as an the end, never merely as a man. The people should never be used just to achieve someone else's goals. Every human being as an end themselves valuable not because of what they can do, but simply because they are rationals, autonomous beings. Let's consider an example. If you pretend to be someone's friends just to get a job referral, you're using them as a means to your own success. You're not respecting their dignity or their autonomy. You're manipulating them. This formulation is especially important in areas like medicine, business, and person relationship, where respecting others' autonomy is essential. Kant believed that to act this formulation is especially important in areas like medicine, business, and personal relationship, where respecting others' autonomy is essential. Kant believed that to act moral, we must respect people's ability to make free and informed choice.
Formulation 3. Autonomy and Kingdom of Ends. The third formulation is known as the Formula of Autonomy or the Kingdom of Ends. Kant writes, act only so that your will can regard itself in the same time as making universal law through its maxims. Here, Kant emphasizes that each of us is not just subject to moral laws, but also a creator of those laws. We're autonomous, being capable of moral reasoning, and we should act in a way that respects that same capacity in others. Imagine, A kingdom of ends, a society where everyone acts according to the same moral laws, treating others with respect and dignity. In this kingdom, people don't manipulate or exploit one another. They act as both moral legislator and moral citizens. For example, if you're following a rule only when it benefits you, but ignore it when it doesn't, you're not acting as if the rule applies to everyone. You're treating yourself as an exemption, which contradicts the idea of autonomy and equality. So, this formulation highlights moral self-responsibility and the importance of acting from principles that only rational people could endorse.
Applying Kant's theory to real-life ethical dilemmas. Now, let's apply Kant's theory to real-life ethical dilemmas and see how this three formulation help us decide what's right. Lying to protect someone. Suppose you to lie to hide someone from a murderer. According to Kant, lying is always wrong, because if everyone lied, truth-telling would collapse. Even if your intention is good, the action itself violates moral law. Euthanasia. Ending someone's life to relieve suffering might seem compassionate, but for Kant, it could be seen as treating the person as a mean to avoid pain, rather than respecting their rational will, unless it can be shown that the person is making fully autonomous, rational choice. Cheating on an exam. You might think it's harmless, but if everyone cheated, the value of education would collapse. It's a contradiction in conception. Plus, you'll be using the system and your teacher as a means to get a grade. Kant's theory is demanding, but it provides a clear rational way to evaluate our action, not by outcomes, but by principle that all people could be lived by.
I'm Shinja Micah Fornes, and thank you for that information. Now, let's proceed to the criticisms and conclusion. While Kant's ethics are powerful, they've been also criticized. One major criticism is that Kant's rules are too strict. For example, saying that lying is always wrong, even to save a life, it feels unrealistic and even dangerous in some situations. Another challenge is that the theory ignores emotions. Many people believe that compassion, love, and empathy play important roles in moral decisions, but Kant focuses only on rational duty. Also, it's not always clear how to formulate the right maxim. A person could word the maxim in a vague way to justify their actions. Despite these criticisms, Kant's categorical imperative remains one of the most respected moral theories in philosophy. It pushes us to think beyond personal gain or short-term results, and is instead focused on universal moral principles and respect for others. In a world filled with difficult moral decisions, Kant reminds us that we all have the rational capacity to choose what is right, and we must hold ourselves to that standards. Thank you for watching our presentation on Kant's categorical imperative.
Takeaways. Kant's categorical imperative reminds us that true morality comes from acting out of duty, not pursuing personal gain or outcomes. His theory challenges us to ask whether our action could be universal laws everyone could follow. It also emphasizes that we must always treat people as ends in themselves, with dignity, respect, and autonomy, not as tools for our own purposes. Through his three formulations, Kant offers a structured and rational way to test the morality of our choices. Even in difficult situations, like lying to save a life or cheating under pressure, Kant insists on moral consistency and respect for universal principles. His approach is often seen as strict and uncompromising, but it encourages a deep sense of personal responsibility. In a world where ethical lines can be blurry, Kant gave us a clear framework rooted in reason and fairness. His philosophy continues to shape how we understand justice, human rights, and what it means to truly do the right thing.
Thank you for watching our presentation on Kant's categorical imperative. We hope it helped you better understand the power of moral reasoning and ethical duty.